worldwide fans of the planet's hottest entertainment with an edge. Jaime En Fuego here, welcoming you to my namesake program, Enfuegotainment. That's right, and you can just call me Fuego for short. As always, stoked to have you here in a new year, in a new decade. And yes, a film that reigned supreme this past weekend for the second straight time. That's right, we talking Bad Boys for Life. That's right, actually, yeah, there we go, for life. Yeah, so here on Enfuegotainment, I always like to break things down by doing a little bit of bueno, malo, and feo, just like you see below, good, bad, and ugly in my silliness. And yes, this is a bueno film, man. This movie was damn good, so much better than I was anticipating. And it's funny because I remembered enjoying the first Bad Boys because of the fact that, I mean, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, pairing those two up, like, it's tough to go wrong unless your script is absolute shite, but it wasn't, you know? It was kind of a riff in some ways on the Lethal Weapon, you know, type dynamic where, you know, you've got the womanizer and, kind of the hothead of the two, and then you've got the more grounded family man and stuff, and so it was a decent movie, but it's not one that I looked back on with like an immense amount of affinity, and so for that reason, I never watched Bad Boys 2, which came out, I think, like 8 years later. I think the first one was either 95 or 96, and then I know it was 2003 when the Bayhem continued, and so when I heard all of the good buzz about this flick, about Bad Boys for Life, I was like, even if the trailers didn't really, like, do that much for me, and even though I was just like, oh, they're gonna get paired up with these young kids, like, you know, the girl from High School Musical and stuff, like, I wasn't so into that. The trailers did not do it for me, but after I heard all of the positive buzz from both critics and audiences, I was like, okay, I'll go give it a shot, and obviously, I told myself I should probably watch Bad Boys 2 before I watch Bad Boys 3, just to make sure I have all the proper context and stuff like that. And Bad Boys 2 is insane. That movie is just fucking bonkers, man. And I actually was very entertained by it in all of its 2.5 hours of insane excess. But yeah, they kind of pulled things back a little bit. And this, whereas the second one did not really take itself very seriously at all, this one most definitely does, and it works to the benefit. It deals, you know, I mean, since we're talking 17 years later, y'all, we're talking just your own mortality, aging, you know, so on and so forth, and not just with Martin Lawrence. I mean, we're talking about the denial that Will Smith is in a little bit, and I mean, whereas the years haven't been quite as kind to Martin Lawrence, unfortunately, he hadn't really done anything in quite a while. Will Smith, you know, still, I mean, he's still handsome fella, and he's still in pretty damn good shape and everything. But it's funny, Martin Lawrence's character is like, he's joking with him, he's like, you've been dyeing your beard, man, you know, so on and so forth. It's what, Marcus and Mike, I believe, and Marcus is like giving him crap about that. And that's the thing. I mean, it is so nice to get back to these two characters, but have it in, like, the understandable, just like, I mean, the kind of context that, you know, guys at that age who've been doing this for so damn long, you know, getting over this shit kind of mentality, you know, it still works. It still works. And I mean, they're so funny together. I miss Martin Lawrence, man. I mean, I watched the hell out of that sitcom back in the day, and I honestly thought Martin was a lot funnier than Fresh Prince, personally. You know, that's just me. I mean, Tommy, you ain't got no job, and Brown Man coming in and just randomly being in Martin Lawrence's house, man. I love that show. It's so funny. So underrated as far as 90s sitcoms and stuff like that goes. So yeah, seeing him back on screen, and he's cracking me up. It was just such a pleasure. And the fact that he's a grandpa now, and the baby, I mean, this movie was great. But yet, in other ways, I was surprised at how the tone was significantly more serious than just the goofball, just wackiness of that second film. And yet, if I'm going to jump into some sort of malo, some sort of bad, it's that while it was fun, it just, I don't know, maybe there's something about the Bayhem that I'm charmed by. I didn't think this film was quite as well directed as the previous two films, especially the second one. Now, some people would probably argue that Michael Bay over-directs his movies, and yeah, I guess to a degree that he does, but some of the wacky camera angles in that second movie and some of the shooting slow-mo, ripping off the Matrix type stuff, I mean, that movie is so over-directed, and I love it because of that. So yeah, you could tell that while the dynamic was there, while the script that Carnahan and a couple other people worked on was just very, very strong, I didn't think it was as well-directed. And some people, well, I mean, film is subjective. Difference of opinion is totally okay here, but I can't really think of a lot of MALO to really jump on about this movie. I mean, I was surprised at how much fun I had with this movie. And yeah, so jump into Feo, this is where sometimes I tend to spoil things. And so, yes, for the ugly, I'm going to give some forewarning right now that, yeah, I am going to give a couple of spoilers and stuff like that here. And yeah, so turn back all who do not want this sort of discussion, or you haven't seen it yet, and you just wanted some, like, you know, initial impressions or whatever. But this movie does some ugly stuff that really shocked me. Actually, yeah, their boss getting killed. I mean, the whole, there's some of the stuff that you kind of start to expect, like the fact that our main villain is actually Mike's son, you know, and Mike had apparently had this affair with this like crazy like cartel woman down in Mexico. And this guy is basically, her kid is basically going after all of these people connected to Mike and this stuff that he did, like pre the original Bad Boys, actually. Like, we're reaching all the way back to when, you know, he was just so wet behind the ears and everything. And I mean, both of the villains are ruthless in this. Ugly, ugly malavagas, if we're gonna be saying that. And yeah, the fact that they kill the chief, the fact that they attempt to kill Mike, and that scene early in the film where he gets all shot up, it's like, damn, man. And whereas the second film obviously was just bonkers, you know, as I said earlier, just balls to the wall, like insanity, didn't take itself very seriously. This one most definitely does, and there are some very, like, just bueno Feo. I mean, just some beautifully tender, sad moments in this movie that really hit you here, which is definitely the one thing that, you know, the first film kind of did, but the second film lost its way, for better or for worse, depending upon opinion. And so that's there's some ugly stuff in this movie, and it's pretty violent at times too. It's not quite as violent as the second movie with, like, I mean, when dude gets like shot in the head and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, the second movie is really violent. This one is as well. You know, it definitely doesn't shy away from the gore. It's very refreshing, you know, to see the fact that we can still make R-rated shoot-'em-ups like this that feel like a throwback to the 80s and the 90s, because I feel like with, like, the Bourne movies and, like, even the Taken movies and stuff like that, it's like, okay, they were very PG-13. They pushed the realm of action, but I gotta give a lot of credit to John Wick for making this sort of, like, DGAF R-rated shoot-'em-up viable once again, and I think Deadpool probably helped with the situation as well. So yeah, this is definitely, it made me feel like I was watching something that I would have seen as far as shoot-'em-ups when I grew up, and I think that stuff is, you know, aside from the John Wick stuff, I mean, it's really a little more few and far between in this day and age where everyone is concerned with the profitability of the PG-13 rating, and there's definitely more of, like, a, just as I said, DGAF sort of approach in the 80s and 90s, and I don't know, this was refreshing. It was a big surprise, and I am actually, as far as the Fuego rating goes, I'm going to give this 4 out of 5 Fuego fireballs, y'all. Yeah, this is, as I designate, a Fuego film. It's not in Fuego, because that would be if we had 5, but yeah, this is definitely, it's closer to 4 stars than 3 stars. I would probably, at the end of the day, because it's kind of one of those guilty pleasure type movies, give it 3.5, but, you know, if I have to commit, obviously, yeah, I'm rolling with 4. This is definitely a Fuego film. Hashtag certified Fuego. So I have been Jaime En Fuego, as I told you guys, and you can find moi on all social media sectors like Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, and here on the YouTubies. Obviously, you're here on my channel. Lots of Star Wars coverage is going to be, well, it's been basically going since last year when I revived this channel, and I've done some comics, I've revisited the prequels and a few other films. I've read some of the new novels, in fact. Just this week, I'm going to be putting up my review of Tarkin, but there is also reviews of Master and Apprentice, Dooku Jedi Lost. I mean, there's some really cool, just expansions on the universe through Star Wars. And then I also, because of the fact that I also want people to live long and prosper, I just did a review of the premiere episode of Star Trek Picard, and that is going to be a new weekly thing as well, every Thursday. Look out for that review. But yes, in case you are just here for whatever record, not familiar with the other channel that I spend the predominance of my time on every week here on the YouTubies, yes, youtube.com/The Horror Show channel. That's where we do 1 and sometimes 2 episodes every single day. Trailer reactions, film reviews, convention coverage, unboxings, video game let's plays. I mean, definitely pretty prolific. So if for whatever reason you're over here and haven't been over there before, please jump over, like, share, subscribe, and check out all the spooktacular radness over yonder. And then lastly, every Monday evening, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, I am very honored to be part of a program called Show Business on the Willis Screedia YouTube channel. CP, the showrunner over there, along with Lindsay Mimsy, as I so affectionately call him, from My 2 Cents of Nonsense. Yeah, we talk about weekend box office numbers, make some predictions about the forthcoming one, and also have a little bit of palaver about just all the biggest entertainment stories of the previous week. So, I've been Fuego, y'all have been awesome, and until the reel of Ka comes around once more, haha, I shall say hasta luego, Cinemigos, but I'm hopeful that we get to share more of this film discussion sooner rather than later. Peace out. Bye. Yeah.